Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of Entrepreneur on Fire. And when I'm not interviewing inspiring entrepreneurs, I'm listening to Stephanie O'Brien on the Moved by Purpose podcast.
I don't need to do any of those things to prove that I'm capable and worthy. I can ask for help. And more importantly, this is the part that I had to learn, was that I needed to be able to accept it when it was offered.
Are you longing to know what your purpose is? Are you on the wrong career path? Do you feel like there must be more to life? Don't worry, there's hope. It's time to be moved by purpose. Now your host, Stephanie O'Brien.
You are listening to the Moved by Purpose podcast. It is your host today, Stephanie O'Brien. As a reminder, I do have the Mastermind Group going on, and at this time, the Passion Project group coaching program is opening for enrollment. And this group has just been a great success. Huge breakthroughs have been happening, and I'm just so excited for this group. So make sure you come on over to movedbypurpose.net to find out more about the Passion Project and my mastermind group. And now I'm going to go on to introducing the guest today, who is Kim Fuller. She is a certified life coach, licensed marriage and family therapist, radio show host, author, and solo mom. She is founder and CEO of Fuller Life Concepts, a life coaching company that works with women entrepreneurs who struggle with staying focused and would like to follow through more consistently to reach goals faster. What makes Fuller Life Concepts unique is the Fuller Lifestyle System, which includes weekly accountability group, which follows a step-by-step process to improve organization and confidence called Stay Accountable to Your Goals program. And without any further delay, I would like to welcome Kim. Welcome to the show, Kim. It is a delight to have you on today.
Thank you for having me, Stephanie.
It is my pleasure. So, first question that I ask every guest is, for a background, if you could tell us the story of what your work history is and what really led you to start the business you have today.
Okay, so I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of California. And back when I was just an intern working for nonprofit mental health, I had written in the back of my journal that I wanted to be a motivational consultant, and I wanted to work with people who really wanted professional and personal development and growth. And that was like my aspiration. I hadn't even really got all the way into my career of being a marriage and family therapist. What happened is I continued on, and I worked in nonprofit mental health for the next 15 to 20 years. I'm working with severely emotionally disturbed children and their families, specifically working with children who were suffering from, like, say, depression or anxiety disorders, and they were struggling with being able to stay in their homes or in the schools that they were in. And our goal was to keep them at home, use whatever resources and skills and interventions we could. And I progressed from being a service therapist to being a director of outpatient mental health. And then one day, my daughter, I was trying to put her in an SUV that we had rented as a family so that we all could ride together. And in that moment, I was trying to click her car seat. They have like these latch systems where you click them literally into the car so that they're most secure. And I couldn't figure out how to do it. I know how to do it in my other car. I couldn't figure out how to do it in this car. And I kept saying to myself, oh my gosh, if he was here, he would know how to do this. My family, who was standing behind, kind of watching me, nobody said anything. Nobody offered any help, nor did I turn around and ask for help. And I just kept getting more and more frustrated with the process. And what happened in that moment was I realized that my husband was not going to be able to help me anymore. He was no longer going to be with me. And it was just me and my daughter kind of against the world. And that was the mindset that I got into at that moment. And I looked back and I realized my family didn't ask if they could help me because I was kind of like on edge already, snappy, and they just probably didn't want to get their heads chewed off by another crazy lady. And so from that point on, I kind of got into the mindset that I needed to do it on my own, which is a false mindset. I don't encourage anyone to ever do that, because what was happening for me was that I was grieving the loss of my husband. I had a 10-month-old daughter. I was a full-time employee working in nonprofit mental health. I was driving an hour and a half each direction, and I was exhausted, overwhelmed, frustrated, and sad, and taking that out on everybody. And I realized that's not the kind of life that I wanted to live, and I needed to do something different. And so that's when I kind of shifted and went back to what I really was interested in doing, and that is working with people who want my services. And so I had dabbled in life coaching before that, and I had had one client here and there. And March 2011, I said, you know what? I'm going to leave this full-time job, and I had exactly one client. So that's kind of how I started.
Beautiful. So your story is just so rich with, just the words that I know that there are listeners, there's someone out there listening that those words just articulated the very things you're feeling. Yes. Exhausted, overwhelmed, frustrated, sad.
Yes. And
I've been there, and I think most of my guests have been there at some point in their life. And for me, it was, I felt all of that, but I didn't really know how to articulate it. I was just miserable.
Yes, exactly. That's just what happens, right?
Yeah. I just was miserable to be around. Yes. I just was very unpleasant with life, and no one wanted to be near me. So.
And you know what's interesting? I look back and I wasn't as clear either. I had other people telling me, hey, don't you think you need to see somebody? And I'd be like, taking offense to that. So yeah, sometimes we don't see it in ourselves and other people have to point it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And don't bite their head off. Yeah. And another thing that just really stuck out really powerful to me was that you realized through this process was that you had this belief that you need to do it all on your own.
Yes, that false belief.
Yes. And I encounter many, many people, including myself, that used to have this belief too, the false belief, that you can't ask for help, and that no one's around to help you, nobody cares, and it's up to you to get it all done.
Right.
Which, again, adds to a ton of misery.
Yes.
And pressure, and just does not make for anything good. So my question is, what did you do? Yes. I'm sure it was a process
yes.
of revelation. And was it one aha moment, or was it through multiple conversations? Was it through working with, I don't know if you worked with a life coach yourself, or how did you learn to articulate those feelings and put names to those emotions rather than just, I hate my life and I'm miserable?
Well, one of the things that I did was I sought out a grief coach, because I had a couple of good friends and my mother on several occasions say, hey, you seem overwhelmed by life. Maybe you need to talk to someone. Which is funny, as a marriage and family therapist, that I'm kind of like, I got this. But finally it settled in that I needed to speak to someone. So I reached out and I contacted a life coach who specializes in the grieving process. And through working with her, I learned the languaging. I learned some of my triggers. I learned the way I act and react based on things that were happening internally for me emotionally. And that helped me to evolve and move into learning the difference between being independent and being dependent. And I think both of them are a wonderful place to be, but there needs to be some sense of balance. And one of the things I took on very strongly was being very independent, being the youngest of 4 girls, really trying to forge my way through life. I took on this persona of, I got to do it myself, because I have to prove to everybody that I'm capable and that I'm worthy. And I realized that none of that is actually true. I don't need to do any of those things to prove that I'm capable and worthy. I can ask for help, and more importantly, this is the part that I had to learn, was that I needed to be able to accept it when it was offered. Because one thing that happened when I started opening myself up to asking for help or even accepting it was realizing I had this whole community of people around me who loved me, cared about me, wanted to help, and felt like it was a gift. I had a really good friend, Terry, say to me when I asked her to, I said, God, I feel so needy all the time. She was like, are you kidding me? She goes, I love that you ask for my help. I feel so honored and I appreciate it so much, and it makes me love you and respect you even more. That was a huge light bulb, because it was like, what? How did I know that was the reaction? Although when you reverse it and when people ask for my help. I have that same kind of feeling, but I just wasn't able to see it because I was so foggy and clouded with all of the other things that were happening. And one thing I want to go back on is that day that I was struggling with the car seat and the SUV. That was a day of my husband's funeral. And so that was a day of demarcation of trying to find that balance between dependence and independence.
Yes. And asking for help.
Yes.
That's a big step. And for those that feel, I think most people want some level of independence.
Yes.
And like you said, there is that balance between independent and dependence. You can be overly independent.
Yes.
And you can be overly dependent.
Yes.
And I encounter a lot of people that, for the independent side, because that's how I used to say, like, I pride myself on my independence and all of this stuff, which is, I don't want to bother anyone. I can figure this out on my own. I can do it all alone. All things that were not true at all. And one of the things that I learned, like you, was the beauty in the gift, and I consider it actually giving. When you learn to receive,
yes,
you're also giving.
Yes.
In a sense that you are allowing the opportunity and the privilege for other people to give, which is a gift.
Yes.
So, and a lot of people just really avoid that. They have a very difficult time receiving help, accepting help, even receiving gifts.
Yes.
You know, and I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but I have had a couple times where I really wanted to give somebody a gift. And so I thought it out and I was just so excited to give it to them. And they rejected it.
Yeah.
They flat out were like, you know what, I'm not going to accept this. There's no way I can accept this. Absolutely not. I mean, things like, I couldn't ever forgive myself if I took this. And it's just like, that right alone just highlights the mentality
right.
of that person.
Yes.
Of not being able to receive. A lot of it, I think, can be a lack of worthiness. You know, I know people that give and give, but won't accept help.
Yes. Yes. You know, that makes me think of a situation that I saw not too long ago. And that was when I was on my way out of a gym from working out, and I had my daughter, she goes to swim class in the gym. And there was a lady who was walking up in the parking lot. She had a kid on her arm who looked maybe about under 2. And then she had a kid at her heel holding his hand, and he was maybe about 5. And then she had like bags over the other shoulder, and she looked very encumbered. And one of the gentlemen walked back towards the door and went to reach for it and said, "Hey, can I get the door for you?" And you know, her answer was, "No, I got it." And you could see her fumbling and bumbling trying to get through the door. And it dawned on me. I was like, oh my goodness. For some reason, she is at that place in her life where she feels like she has to do it all by herself, even accepting the gesture that wasn't going to take very much effort from someone else to open the door and let her through without having to manage the door. And I said, wow, how often do we turn away the gifts of others? How often do we not accept that kind of abundance into our lives? How often do we say, oh, no, thank you, I got it, to these wonderful opportunities to continue to enhance and grow ourselves emotionally and within our environment. And even something small as that, you can see how that can exponentially be different in terms of like this example you just gave where you tried to give somebody actually a gift and they declined it. What other things are they declining in life that could bring them abundance?
We'll get back to the show after this quick announcement. Want to know the secret behind the people that have built successful 6-figure and 7-figure businesses? I know I sure was wondering what that was. Of all the entrepreneurs I have interviewed, all of them have invested in their training and in the success of other people. So what is the fastest way to grow your business? You probably guessed it right if you've been paying any attention to any of the leading experts out there, and that is by joining a mastermind group. The best mastermind groups require a financial investment. This ensures the commitment of every member in the group. The free ones just do not have the commitment from the members. They have inconsistent attendance, which ends up being a waste of everyone's time. If you want to rapidly grow your business, it just won't happen if you do not invest any money. I hate to break it to you, but the businesses that grow the fastest are due to the fact that people have invested in their own personal and business development. They have invested in a mastermind group, hired coaches, paid for trainings, marketing, a supportive team to delegate and offload the responsibilities. It is a fact that you cannot build your business alone. Without the feedback, input, and idea sharing or brainstorming of other business-minded people, you will not see the success you are hoping to see anytime soon. Who is looking at your sales copy, your website, marketing flyers? If it's a friend or a family member, do they own their own businesses? Who is helping you process through and solidify networking strategies and rocking that sales process? What about the pricing on your packages? I cover all of these business boosting techniques and strategies in my mastermind group. So join my mastermind group to learn all the strategies, secrets, resources, and share ideas that will get you transitioned out of your day job in a year. This group is for people who are already clear on their business idea and are hustling to make things happen. This group will just speed up the success and boost your profits. At a bargain price of $250 a month, you will not find any other mastermind group out there like this that has the amount of training and coaching made available to you. Think you can't afford that? Trust me, you really cannot afford not to. Home study programs, books, and consuming free podcasts and blogs will only get you so far. Building your business with a group of committed members is the missing key to your business success. Don't delay. Register today and get a $50 off per month bonus. Absolutely. And yeah, it is something as small as opening a door, or, I mean, especially when you see somebody really struggling. Yes. Like that woman was clearly having a difficult time managing everything she had going on. Yes. And I mean, how much work does it take to open a door, you know? But how much more work is it on the woman's part too, to try to manage to open that door? So I've seen that. And I'm sure this is prevalent in men as well, but I've just noticed it more so. To me, it's more obvious with women. Yes. Especially women that may be single or living on their own, or single mothers, or maybe they're divorced and having to adjust. You know, they really have a lot that they're responsible for. Yes. And so you get used to really having all that responsibility on your shoulders. So when the help does come along, it's so foreign to you. Yes, it's foreign to you, and from my experience, I'm afraid to count on it. Yeah. And so if I count on it, lets me down, I feel even more discouraged about accepting it the next time. Which is another false belief, but still, that's kind of the mindset you get caught up in. Well, if I just don't even worry about asking people, I don't have to count on that, then I can just schedule and put things in place that I already know I'm going to do and not have to rely on other people. But that's false as well. Yes. And so I'm sure a lot of it comes down to just mindsets and beliefs. Yes. And we don't even really necessarily know what we are believing that cause us to do the things that we do. But for someone that has had a disappointment from something, including myself, I have to redirect myself often and call out basically the lie of the belief that I have and redirect. But let's say there's somebody that really believed that something was going to work out for them, or had high hopes, whether it's maybe a business or a career or a relationship, and they put so much energy and time and love and effort into this thing they really believed in.
Yes.
And it ends up not meeting their expectations. The outcome is very disappointing, and the person feels really discouraged. And I speak from my own experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how does somebody get back up and move on? Because what I notice is a pattern of every time someone tries to maybe love again, or maybe start a new business venture, or transition to a new career, although they're kind of going through the motions and trying to get by, it's almost like that disappointment haunts them. And it scares them from fully embracing they hear that voice of, well, remember when you tried this last time, how that ended up working out for you?
Yes, yes. Wow. So, I think I'm familiar with that voice.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess, what do you do to encourage your clients, or maybe what you do to encourage yourself when that old familiar lying voice, or just that painful reminder of how you tried it last time and how it worked out, so why bother trying it again?
Exactly.
What do you do to get past that? Because you so want to be transformed, to be free of it, but at the same time, there's a little bit of self-preservation going on.
Yes, that needs to happen, right? Otherwise, you feel like you're going to just burst into pieces.
Right.
Well, my goal became the process. And I guess the challenge is, how do you get to your goal being the process? Because what was happening for me was I was defining not reaching the goal equaled failure. So that meant that my belief systems were securely tied to the negative self-talk about I'm not good enough, I should have never tried it anyway, see what happens when I did it. And all that is negative talk, and all of that is really tied to your mindset. And so what I began doing through my own coaching and through my information that I got as a marriage and family therapist was I began to help myself and help my clients understand the connection between what you think and feel and how it impacts your actions. And so after really getting clear on what you think and feel impacts your behavior and your actions, then you can change any one of those three things and have a different outcome and a different result. So if I'm constantly feeling discouraged, that I'm going to have these thoughts of I'm not good enough, I can't do it, my behavior is going to be withdrawn and step back and keep myself from doing that. But if I say, you know what, I'm kind of feeling encouraged and hopeful today, then my messages are going to be different. My messages are going to be like, oh, you can do it, Kim. You could try that. It's possible. And then my behavior is going to be, I'm going to be willing to take a little bit of risk. I'm not expecting myself to go from failure feelings to all of a sudden, oh, I'm just the best ever, but just taking one tiny step forward and willing to take one more risk, one more challenge. So one of the exercises that works really well is when you have some kind of experience that doesn't live to the expectation and you consider it a failure. So one, begin changing your mindset around the word failure and say, you know, it wasn't a failure. It didn't work, but why didn't it work? What are the elements that didn't work? And what are the things that did work? What were the learning opportunities that I got from that experience? What were the things that I want to keep going and blow up and try again? What are the feelings that were good about me going through that process? Because sometimes the process of just taking a risk and putting yourself out there feels so good. You want to increase that part versus the outcome wasn't what I expected, so I'm never going to do that again. So it's all about changing your mindset in a couple different ways. How you think, what you feel, and how you react or behave, and then go through what can be called like a groundhog exercise. That's what my mentor calls it. And that is, once you have that experience that didn't go the way you planned, what are the things that didn't go well? So you can be clear about those, not to repeat them. But then what are all of the things that went well, that you're excited about, that you're encouraged about, that you're happy about, that you felt so successful with along the process? So then when you look back, you can go, oh, okay, these are the things I don't want to do, but these are the things that were really helpful that I want to put into the next relationship, or put into the next job venture, or put into the next interview, or put into the next opportunity.
Yes. And I think that small adjustments.
Yes.
I mean, for me, something as simple as and small as changing one habit, just one.
Yes.
Not every bad habit you realize and want to get rid of completely in one day, but just one. So for me, it was sleeping in. Mm-hmm. And so that, to me, it's like breaking it down to even smaller things like, okay, so yeah, you need the big picture. In order to avoid sleeping in, what is it that's causing me to sleep in the first place? Am I overworked? Am I stressed? Am I eating bad things that is causing me to be overly exhausted? Am I not going to bed on time? All kinds of things. So you look into all of that. But one thing I was like, before having to figure all of that out, because then you can, this is a trap that I also have found myself fall into and others, is that when you're trying to really pinpoint or figure it all out, you can often spend so much time evaluating that you're not actually taking any action.
Analysis paralysis.
Yeah. Or you just find yourself like, okay, well, let's first explore eating. And then like you go on that trail and like suddenly you get so distracted and you lost focus on your original goal. And now you have 20 new goals that you never even thought you needed to have.
Right. Yes.
I'm pretty well acquainted with that one. So one thing I just did was, okay, before doing any of that, I was like, okay, so I'm going to just try this one simple thing, which is just to tell myself and commit to myself and say, and like get into a place of just really believing, like, I'm going to wake up with energy.
Yes.
And I'm actually going to get out of bed when my alarm clock goes on.
Yes.
I would just say that out loud to myself and believe that I would. And when I heard that alarm, instead of the habit of not thinking and being groggy and hitting snooze over and over again, I am instantly reminded of the last thing I told myself when I went to bed was, I'm getting up the first time that alarm goes off.
Yes. Yes.
And boom, I'm there. So for me, that works. Try different things, but it was as simple as like saying it out loud to myself and just like making that commitment to myself that worked. Very simple.
Very simple. And yes, I do believe we can speak ourselves into a new mindset.
Yeah. Well, it has been a pleasure to really get to know you better, Kim, and for you to share your inspiration and your story to the Moved by Purpose audience. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
Oh, thank you.
How can people connect with you?
So a good way to connect with me would be going to my program website, which is stayaccountabletoyourgoals.com. And on that website, I have a free gift that I'd like to offer anybody who goes to that website, and it's Staying Motivated, and it's an audio. It's about a 40-minute audio that talks about different ways to stay motivated to get you to stay accountable to your goals.
Very nice. Very nice. It's actually one of the biggest questions I get asked is, how can I hold myself accountable, or how do you stay accountable?
Yes.
So there you go. Here's another resource, everyone, that's emailed that question.
Yes.
So thank you for that. Again, as we were talking before the official interview, you are in very warm California,
yes.
and I am a little bit jealous, but
yes.
So you enjoy that beautiful weather.
Thank you. I will. I'll be thinking warm thoughts for everybody who's in parts of the world that are freezing right now.
Yeah, including Michigan. So thank you again, Kim.
Thank you for having me, Stephanie. I appreciate it. I'm not expecting myself to go from failure feelings to all of a sudden, oh, I'm just the best ever, but just taking one tiny step forward and willing to take one more risk, one more challenge.
Well, there you have it. That was Kim Fuller with Fuller Life Concepts. Her story is very moving, very touching, and she is a sharp, confident, and humble woman that I encourage you guys to connect with. Any mothers out there that really resonated with her story, the words that she used, the feelings she expressed, the process she went through, make sure to come on over to movedbypurpose.net. Find the links in the show note and connect with her. And also, she did mention the stayaccountabletoyourgoals.com website, and check that out, because I believe that will be of tremendous value. If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and write a review. If you have any requests for topics or suggestions of guests, make sure you send me an email at stephanie@movedbypurpose.net. And I always love to hear from you. So don't be afraid to take the time to really send an email and let me know what you like, maybe what you don't like, how this podcast has changed your life, the growth you're going through, or things you would like help with. I am always loving to help, so don't be a stranger. And I'll talk to you all next week.